Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed.
Yeah.
Today we're jumping into something pretty profound, really getting to the heart of living a better life. We're guided by Eli Goldratt's amazing book, The Choice Revised Edition.
hmm
It's written like a series of conversations, actually, between a father and his daughter. And it offers this really different way of looking at reality and making decisions, not just for businesses, but for, us, our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And our mission here is to pull out Goldratt's core idea, he calls it inherent simplicity, and really show you how grabbing hold of this it can change how you think completely.
Okay.
We want to show how it helps you cut through all that perceived complexity, get past the usual roadblocks, and unlock what Goldratt calls a full life.
A full life.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
And this isn't just, academic theory. We're
Yeah.
going to use real examples, aiming for those moments where you just go, aha, practical stuff you can actually use.
Right. Because Goldratt really challenges this common idea that living a full life is, mostly down to luck.
Exactly.
He says, no, it's a choice, a conscious one. It's
Yes.
about choosing to spend time really understanding what matters, family, friends, work, whatever it is for you.
Understanding the causes, right, the real cause and effect.
Precisely. Understanding the causalities that govern a situation. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it?
Uh-huh. Deceptively so.
But it's not easy. It means we have to overcome some fundamental barriers in how we think. Barriers most of us don't even realize are there.
Right.
So yeah, let's unpack these.
Okay, so the foundation, the bedrock for Goldratt is this concept, inherent simplicity.
Right.
He genuinely believes that any real situation, no matter how tangled and confusing it looks at first glance, once you really understand it, it's actually, embarrassingly simple.
Embarrassingly simple. I like that.
He even takes issue with how we normally define complexity.
Okay, that's interesting. So how do we usually see complexity? And what's Goldratt's maybe more scientific take on it?
Well, the common way, is just counting the pieces. Like you see a diagram with tons of circles and arrows, lots of data points needed to describe it.
Yeah, it looks complicated. More bits, more complex.
Right. But Goldratt, thinking like a scientist or maybe a manager trying to actually do something, he's not just counting parts. He's asking, how hard is it to control this thing? How hard is it to predict what it'll do?
Okay, so control and predictability.
Exactly. So his definition hinges on degrees of freedom.
Degrees of freedom.
Ugh.
Okay, can you give us an intuitive feel for that? What does that mean in practice?
Sure. Imagine a big, complex machine. Maybe it has 100 buttons and levers, looks incredibly complex.
Mm-hmm.
But what if only one master switch actually controls the whole thing? One thing you need to touch to affect everything else.
Ah, okay. Then it's simple to operate, even if it looks busy.
Precisely. In Goldratt's view, that system is actually simple. The complexity is defined by those degrees of freedom, the minimum number of independent points you need to touch to influence the whole system. So if a system, regardless of how many surface elements it has, really only has one root cause driving its behavior.
Then it's simple. Exceedingly simple,
You
even.
got it. Exceedingly simple to control.
That's a powerful shift in perspective right there. Now, let's make this concrete. The big brand apparel company case you mentioned. Huge company, 80,000 product variations.
80,000 Cs. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Complexity overload.
Totally. But Goldratt comes in, focuses on cause and effect, and finds an embarrassingly simple root cause for their biggest headaches. What were those headaches?
Well, they were pretty major. The managers figured about 30% of their stuff, their SKUs, were just missing from stores, stockouts, leading to huge lost sales, obviously.
Okay, that's bad.
And then the flip side, 30% or more of everything they made ended up as obsolete, meaning sold off cheap and in outlets or clearance sales, like 30 to 70% off.
Wow. So massive shortages and massive surpluses at the same time.
Exactly. And the industry kind of papers over this, They call stockouts sold out like it's a good thing, and the clearance stuff is just outlet sales. It avoids admitting the real problem.
So what was the single simple cause driving both these huge, seemingly opposite problems?
It all boiled down to one thing: their reliance on inaccurate long-term forecasts. They were trying to predict months in advance exactly what would sell for the entire season.
The crystal ball approach.
Pretty much. And based on those flawed guesses, they ordered massive quantities way ahead of time, which naturally meant they guessed wrong a lot. Too much of the slow stuff, not nearly enough of the hits.
They were basing the whole operation on, an illusion.
That's a good way to put it. An illusion of predictability.
And the embarrassingly simple solution then?
Goldratt said, forget trying to guess demand for every single item months out. Just stop.
Stop forecasting.
Stop relying on long-term forecasts for everything. Instead, start the season lean. Minimal inventory, maybe just a month's worth. Okay.
Yeah.
Then use the first 2 or 3 weeks of actual sales, see what people are really buying, and replenish based on that real data. Real consumption.
Reactive replenishment.
Exactly. Now, obviously, that means suppliers have to adjust. They need to produce in smaller batches more often.
Which sounds like it would require more factory capacity, maybe.
You'd think so, but surprisingly, for apparel, it often doesn't. Smaller batches, more flexibility, and for the really hot items, the ones flying off the shelves, use air freight to restock quickly.
Air freight. Isn't that expensive?
It is, but Goldratt showed the cost was tiny, negligible, really, compared to the money they were losing from missed sales because of stockouts.
Okay, that makes sense. You're saving sales worth far more than the shipping cost.
Precisely. It was about stopping the bleeding from lost sales and obsolete inventory. The potential upside was huge.
Huge we're talking.
Get this. The analysis showed this simple shift could potentially bring their yearly net profit up to a level equal to their current annual sales.
Wait, profit equal to sales. That's astronomical.
It's almost unbelievable, right? But it shows the power of finding that simple leverage point.
It really does. But implementing something like that,
Yeah.
I mean, even with those numbers, surely there's resistance. What's the biggest hurdle internally?
Oh, absolutely. Often the biggest hurdle is just mental. It's letting go of those old assumptions, the way things have always been done, the forecasting models everyone relies on. That's hard.
Letting go of perceived control.
Yeah, and maybe a bit of inertia. But the insight for you, listening, is don't let that surface complexity fool you. Big brand looked intractable, right?
Right.
80,000 SKUs.
Right.
But the root cause was simple. Find that cause and effect chain. Ask why enough times. That overwhelmingly complex problem in your world, it might just have an embarrassingly simple root cause waiting for you.
That's a powerful takeaway. Turning huge problems into huge profit with elegance. But, like we all know, even the best solution can stumble when it hits, well, people, and ingrained habits. Which brings us nicely to Goldratt's second big obstacle, how we tend to just accept conflict as inevitable.
Exactly. So many situations, personal or in business, we see a conflict and immediately jump to compromise, right?
Yeah, find the middle ground, split the difference.
But often that just leads to, well, bad compromises where nobody's really happy. And worse, over time, we just lower our expectations of what's even possible.
You assume win-lose, or at best lose-lose lead.
Right. Goldratt completely rejected that. He believed persistent conflicts, the really sticky ones, aren't usually about fundamentally incompatible needs. They're almost always rooted in some faulty underlying assumption. One or both sides are assuming something that just isn't true.
So it's like finding a bug in the logic.
Kind of, yeah. He said treat conflicts like scientists treat contradictions in their experiments. You don't just accept the contradiction, you assume one of your underlying hypotheses must be wrong, you find it, you fix it.
And if you do that with a conflict,
You can actually eliminate the conflict altogether. Not compromise, eliminate it. Which opens the door to true win-win solutions, where both sides get what they genuinely need, maybe even more than they thought they could.
okay, let's go back to big brand and their suppliers, their contractors. The new model required a huge shift from the contractors, right? From big planned orders to...
Sudden, small, urgent orders. Quick response.
Yeah. And the big brand managers were worried. They thought the contractors would hate this, see it as big brand just throwing its weight around being selfish.
That was the fear and the faulty assumption there was.
Well, the assumption was, if big brand, the big powerful player, acts in its own self-interest, it must be bad for the contractor, the smaller, less powerful one. A zero-sum game.
Exactly. But Goldratt didn't just accept that assumption. He dug deeper. He actually analyzed the situation from the contractor's perspective.
And what did he find?
He found that switching to this rapid response model, handling smaller, frequent orders, could actually revolutionize the contractor's business, too. It could dramatically increase their inventory turns.
Their inventory turns. How?
Yeah. Because they wouldn't be holding huge amounts of raw materials or finished goods based on big brands' shaky forecasts anymore. They'd be working with smaller batches, moving things through much faster. Their analysis showed turns could go from maybe 6 times a year to 15.
Wow. Okay. And more turns means?
Better cash flow, higher return on investment. Effectively, it could double their margins and increase their overall sales volume with big brand. especially if big brand offered, say, a bonus for hitting those higher turn rates.
So far from being a burden, it was actually a massive opportunity for the contractor, a huge win.
A huge win. This is what Goldratt called a mafia offer.
A mafia offer, like an offer you can't refuse.
Exactly, but in a good way. An offer so genuinely beneficial to the other party that it removes the conflict because they'd be crazy not to take it. It's not about dividing the existing pie, it's about baking a much bigger cake together.
Expanding the pie for everyone.
Right. And the book notes, these kinds of offers, based on real analysis of the other side's needs, were accepted with open arms.
That's fantastic. But it sounds almost too simple sometimes. What's the real key to making that work, to crafting that kind of offer?
The key, and this is crucial for you listening, is you have to really understand the other side. Not just their surface demands, but their real underlying needs, especially those camouflaged problems, the ones they might not even talk about, maybe ones they've given up trying to solve.
So it requires empathy, but like analytical empathy.
That's a great way to put it. You need to invest the time and the mental energy to truly understand their reality, not just project your own assumptions onto them.
Okay, so we found a simple root cause. We've engineered a win-win solution. Surely now we can relax, right? We figured it out.
But that leads us straight into the third obstacle, Goldratt's relentless principle, never say I know.
Right, I can just imagine his daughter pushing back, Dad, come on, we did great. Can't we just be happy and say we know this works?
And he'd say, nope, never say I know. And it wasn't about being overly humble or negative.
Oh, what was it about then?
It was about recognizing that the feeling, the conviction that you know everything about a situation, that you've got it all figured out, that very conviction can actually blind you. It can stop you from seeing opportunities for even more significant improvement. It shuts down further inquiry.
Okay, let's use the bread company example again.
Yeah.
The problem was bread running out late in the day, especially the fancy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because retailers were afraid of getting stuck with leftovers.
Exactly. Too conservative in their ordering.
So the first solution was deliver twice a day instead
Right.
of once.
Give them a top-up.
And the result was amazing. A 60% jump in sales, way more than the 10 or 30% they expected. Success, right. Check the box.
Absolutely a success. A great improvement. But this is precisely where Goldratt applied never say I know.
Because the result was too good. Better than expected.
Yes. That discrepancy, why was the increase so much higher than predicted? Wasn't just a happy accident to him. It was a clue. A precious opportunity, he called it, to deepen knowledge. He realized they still didn't fully understand why the retailers were so conservative in the first place. The magnitude was off.
They hadn't fully grasped the retailer's reality. I can relate to that, thinking you've nailed it, then realizing you missed a key piece. It's
Sure.
humbling, isn't it?
Very. So they dug deeper into the retail side. And what they found was pretty stark. Bread, especially basic bread, has razor-thin margins for the retailer, like only 15%.
Wow, okay, that's low.
Really low. And here's the kicker. Because the margin is so low, just one unsold loaf at the end of the day could wipe out the entire profit from selling 5 other loaves.
One cancels out 5. No wonder they were conservative.
Exactly. It wasn't just cautiousness, it was intense financial pressure. Understanding that completely changed the game.
So that deeper understanding led to an even better solution, beyond just 2 deliveries.
It did. If the root cause of the conservatism was the financial risk of unsold bread, how do you eliminate that root cause entirely?
Take away the risk.
Bingo. The bread company offered to take back any unsold bread at the end of the day for a full refund.
Wow. Total consignment, basically.
Right. Completely removes the reason for the retailer to be conservative. They can stock generously without fear. And here's the truly elegant part. If you eliminate the retailer's risk by taking back bread, guess what? You don't actually need 2 deliveries anymore. 1 delivery is enough because the retailer isn't holding back on their initial order.
So this solution to the deeper problem actually made the operation simpler again.
Isn't that beautiful? It perfectly shows that humbly arrogant approach Goldratt talks about. Humble enough to say, I don't fully know even after a win, but arrogant enough to believe I can find a better way if I dig deeper. Every solution changes the reality, he said, and that new reality always holds new opportunities.
Okay, this is really starting to paint a picture of a different way to operate. But there's one more big obstacle, and it's a tricky one. Blaming people.
Yes, this one's huge.
Do you remember the bread company managers? They were all fired up about the initial changes within their own system. Blue lightning, Goldratt called it.
Yeah, super fast, super enthusiastic.
But then When asked to roll out this brilliant replenishment solution to the retailers, the consignment idea, they suddenly hit the brakes. Active paralysis, you said.
Yeah, froze up.
Now, our first instinct, mine anyway, might be to say, oh, typical managers, risk-averse, resisting change, procrastinating. We jump to blaming their character.
I do. It's almost automatic sometimes. But Goldratt fundamentally disagreed. His core belief here was people are good.
People are good. Okay.
He argued that these kinds of derogatory hypotheses, people resist change, people are lazy, people are risk-averse, they actually block us from finding the real reasons for behavior. They're easy answers that stop us looking further.
And he'd say they often don't even hold up if you test them against general experience.
Exactly. Like his example. Do people resist all change? Of course not. People eagerly get married, have babies, move houses, huge life changes they embrace. So a blanket people resist change doesn't really work. It depends on the change and their perception of it.
Okay, powerful point. So if we don't blame their character, what was going on with those managers who suddenly froze?
Goldratt had this interesting take on comfort zones. He said it's not really about being in control. A comfort zone is an area where a person feels they have enough knowledge of cause and effect to predict the outcome of their actions.
Ah, knowledge of cause and effect, not just control.
Right. So think about the managers. Implementing changes inside their own company or with distributors who depended heavily on them, they knew that world. They understood the cause and effect well enough. That was their comfort zone. High knowledge, high speed, blue lightning.
Got it.
But dealing directly with retailers, understanding the pressures of thin margins, sales per shelf, metrics, the whole retail environment, that was outside their direct experience, outside their knowledge base.
So their previous experience didn't apply. Their extrapolations were potentially wrong.
Exactly. And that lack of relevant cause and effect knowledge led to uncertainty, fear of unintended consequences, and thus active paralysis. They weren't being difficult, they were being cautious because they were outside their comfort zone, knowledge-wise.
That makes so much sense. It wasn't bad intent, it was lack of knowledge. So what's the prescription then? If someone's outside their knowledge comfort zone, how do you help them move forward?
Well, Goldratt stressed that just explaining isn't usually enough. You can't just lecture them. And crucially, you shouldn't compromise the solution just to make them feel better.
Okay, so what do you do?
You have to provide solid facts. You need to clearly demonstrate the correct cause and effect relationships in this new environment, the reality of retail in this case. Show them why their old assumptions or extrapolations are flawed.
Lay out the new reality.
Yes. And then, this is vital, you launch a carefully designed test, a pilot. Something that lets them see the new cause and effect in action, safely, and builds their knowledge and confidence.
Show, don't just tell. Prove it works on a small scale.
Exactly. And once Goldratt did that, clearly explained the retail economics, invalidated their old fears with facts, and proposed a test, the managers became open-minded again. They were willing to reevaluate and try it out. Their paralysis vanished because their relevant knowledge increased.
It really reframes resistance, doesn't it? It's often just a signal of missing knowledge or unseen risk.
Precisely. Assume people are good, look for the circumstances, or the knowledge gap.
Okay, so we've covered these 4 big obstacles. Seeing complexity where there's simplicity, accepting conflict instead of solving it, thinking we know when we don't, and blaming people instead of circumstances. How do we pull this all together? How do we practice this kind of clear thinking systematically?
Goldratt actually laid out a pretty practical guide, 5 steps, really.
Okay, let's hear them. Step 1.
Step 1, start with the effects. Look at reality, what's actually happening, especially what are the undesirable effects, the problems you want to solve. Observe first.
Okay, observe reality. Step 2.
Step 2, ask why. But not just once. Keep asking why, relentlessly, like a little kid. Why is that happening? And why is that happening? Dig down to the root causes.
Don't stop at the surface. Got it. Step 3.
Step 3, beware of tautologies, circular reasoning. Be really suspicious when the answer to why involves some abstract concept like sales are down because the market is soft or morale is low because of poor communication. Those are often just labels, not real verifiable causes. They might be hypotheses, but you need to check them.
Right, they don't really explain how. What's step 4?
Step 4, substantiate with predicted effects. This is key for verifying a cause. If you think you've found a root cause, ask yourself, okay, if this cause is really true, what else would I expect to see in reality? What other effect must also exist?
Like other symptoms of the same underlying issue.
Exactly. The more of these predicted effects you can find and verify through observation, things you often already know from experience, the more confident you can be in your cause. If you can't find any other predicted effects, maybe your proposed cause is too narrow or just plain wrong. And if even one predicted effect definitely doesn't exist,
Then your hypothesis is wrong. Back to the drawing board.
precisely, it's a rigorous test.
Okay, makes sense. And the final step, step 5.
Step 5. Avoid derogatory hypotheses, especially when dealing with people's behavior. Make a conscious effort to reject any initial explanation that blames negative traits like laziness, resistance, or bad intentions. Assume people are good. Always look for explanations in the situation, the system, the pressures, or, as we saw, a lack of relevant knowledge.
Assume good intent. Look for systemic causes.
Yes. And Goldratt believed that practicing these 5 steps consistently builds this kind of upward spiral, a helix, he called it. It connects your emotion, what you care about, what drives you, with your intuition, those gut feelings that often stem from deep experience, and your logic, the clear thinking process.
Emotion, intuition, logic, all working together.
Yeah. And the more you practice, the better you get. Your skills sharpen, you achieve more, you find more win-wins, and ultimately you move towards that full life.
Wow. Okay, so it really does all tie together. This idea of choosing a full life isn't passive, it's active. It's about adopting these principles. Believe in inherent simplicity. Always hunt for the win-win. Never assume you truly know it all. And always believe that people are fundamentally good.
Right. It's not just a nice philosophy, it's a practical toolkit for tackling pretty much any challenge you face.
It puts a responsibility squarely on you, though, doesn't it? To challenge your own thinking, to dig deeper.
It absolutely does. It demands you take responsibility, question your assumptions constantly, and never stop trying to understand things more deeply. Goldratt admitted it's not the easiest path, but the potential for improvement is, well, limitless, even when things seem pretty good already. It's worth remembering, too, for those familiar with his earlier work like The Goal, this book, The Choice, really provides the philosophical why behind the theory of constraints, how it elevates it.
His daughter summed up his whole view so concisely. 6 points, right?
Yeah, they're powerful. 1, people are good. 2, every conflict can be removed. 3, every situation, no matter how complex it looks, is actually exceedingly simple at its core.
4, every situation can be substantially improved. Even the sky isn't the limit. 5, every single person has the potential to reach a full life.
And 6, there's always a win-win solution waiting to be found.
It really brings it home that the biggest barriers we face are often, well, they're in our own heads. Our perceptions, our habits of thought.
Absolutely. And the choice to challenge those barriers, to think differently, that choice is yours.
So for you listening, our dedicated learner, maybe the provocative thought to chew on is this. What complexity in your life, maybe at work or at home, what looks like a tangled mess might actually be embarrassingly simple underneath? If you just asked why one more time.
Yeah, or what compromises are you living with right now? Conflicts you've just accepted. Could challenging one faulty assumption turn that into a win-win you haven't even imagined?
And what knowledge are you holding on to so tightly? What are you absolutely sure you know? That might actually be blinding you to an even better way, a deeper solution.
The deeper you dive, Goldratt suggests, the more you'll discover. The potential is always there.